Okay, we need to set the mood for this one. Hang on. There we go. Can we just take a second to appreciate what we're about to dive into? It's 2007. The world is war-torn, conflicts are going on, the economy's about to take a hit, but you're at home, controller in hand, playing one of the greatest games ever made on Xbox. That's right, we're talking about Halo 3, and if you couldn't guess that from the title,
Bruh.
yeah. We're going to break down everything this game did right and why it's forever remembered as a true classic. All right, so let's talk about this. The year is 2007. The economy's almost bad, but again, this banger of a game releases. And we have to talk about it. Guys, welcome to episode... I never, research what episode I'm on. I'm always guessing. We'll call it episode 6. I'm probably wrong. You guys can roast me for it later. We have a review coming in from Reaper Bandit. And this is a long one.
That's what she said.
All right, that's what she said. This is a long one, so strap in. Let's get to it. 3 people found this review helpful. 2 people found it funny. Recommended 0 hours last 2 weeks, 0 hours on record. Posted July 4th at 4:28 p.m. Happy birthday, Marika. We're celebrating Halo 3. Now, he wrote, Halo 3 continues the story of the Master Chief while keeping the same formula established by Halo 2. Although there are improvements in certain mechanics and some technological evolution compared to the previous games, I never felt that Halo 3 represented the leap I was expecting after to finish the earlier entries in the Master Chief collection. One of the first things that stood out to me was the visual presentation. After playing Halo, Combat Evolved, Anniversary, and Halo 2 Anniversary, I expected Halo 3 to receive the same treatment. Instead, it remains much closer to its original version. This doesn't mean the game looks bad, especially considering the original release, but within the Master Chief Collection, it creates a noticeable break in visual consistency. I was expecting a more significant modernization similar to what the previous remasters received. The gameplay remains very similar to Halo 2. There are small improvements, but nothing that significantly changes how the game is played. Combat continues to rely on the same formula of consistently managing ammunition, swapping weapons from fallen enemies, and relying heavily on grenades during larger encounters. After several hours, I often find myself avoiding unnecessary fights simply because engaging every enemy became repetitive instead of rewarding. Interesting. My biggest criticism once again goes to the pacing of the campaign. Halo 3 no longer suffers from the repetitive level design that heavily affected Halo Combat Evolved, but many missions still feel stretched longer than necessary. There are several moments where the soundtrack builds up that feeling that something spectacular is about to happen, yet the gameplay rarely matches the intensity. Instead of creating larger battles, more dynamic events, or increasing the sense of urgency, the game often falls back into the same combat encounters that eventually slow the overall pacing. Vehicle gameplay also remains inconsistent. Driving sections never felt particularly satisfying, especially with lighter vehicles reacting to unpredictably to small impacts, making them feel less stable than they should. These movements don't ruin the experience, but they contribute to the feeling of several mechanics never evolved as much as I expected. Despite the criticisms, Halo 3 is still an enjoyable campaign, and introduces some improvements over the previous entries and remains a solid continuation of the series. However, I also felt that I played things too safely, instead of significantly expanding the gameplay or introducing new mechanics that kept the same experience feeling trash and largely continued using the same formula established by Halo 2. For me, Halo 3 ends up in a very similar position to Halo 2. It improves with certain aspects, but not enough to make the gameplay feel meaningfully different. While I enjoy finishing the campaign, I've never had the feeling that the series had taken a significant step forward. 6 out of 10. Alright, so let's look at this beautiful game and this user submitted beautiful review, might I add. And again, before I get into my own thoughts, why did I say again? I didn't say again. Damn it. But I just wanted to highlight how well written this review was. wasn't just a rant, it was clear, concise, and made thoughtful points about Halo 3, and it stood out for him. But yet, it still connects it to Halo 2. Now, for full disclosure, I didn't spend nearly as much time with Halo 3 as I did the first two games, but from the time that I did play, I agree with the reviewer's sentiment. Like Call of Duty, Halo's campaign is pretty linear. You see bad guys, you shoot bad guys, you move on. But it's part of the appeal. The simplicity makes it easy to get hooked, and you get lost for hours in the game. As for the visuals, the reviewers said they aren't anything crazy, and I agree, but for a game that originally came out in early 2000s, 2008, I'm okay with that. If the developers don't overhaul the graphics in a re-release or a remaster, like Modern Warfare Remastered, perfect example, I actually think that it helps preserve the original feeling of the game that we all know and love. Okay, point number 2. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit since I already covered some of this in my first point. The next thing that stood out to me in his review is his thoughts on the game's pacing. I think most of us played Halo 3 on Heroic because that's where the real fun is. Like, anyone can do easy, my kids could do it. Like, come on. You're dodging grenades, you're fighting off endless elites, and basically the whole Covenant is out to stop the GOAT, Master Chief, right? But getting back to the reviewer's point, he mentions that some of the missions feel stretched out. Now, I'll be honest, I can't remember a single mission in detail. But I agree, I feel like I felt the same way, like, man, is this game over yet? But maybe Bungie knew they were wrapping up the trilogy and, you know, they knew they were throwing in the towel and they really wanted to make these last missions really count. But sometimes it could have felt like they were drawing things out. I say could have because, again, I don't really remember. What do you guys think? Do you agree with this? Did the missions feel longer because this was the end of the trilogy? Or is it just classic Halo pacing? Let me know in your comments.
You idiot. You're honestly an idiot. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Alright, so vehicle gameplay. Let's talk about it. And I actually have a funny story for this. So I don't even know how old I was. 2008. I'm 32 now. Can't do quick math.
You idiot.
But I remember being over my neighbor's house playing the game, and for the first time, dude, when I saw this, I was like, dude, let me play it. So I got in the Banshee. I was flying around and I could just see my buddy like side-eyeing me like, this dude sucks. Those weird controls, like you would use both thumbsticks to drive the vehicle. And again, I was young, so I was just like crashing into everything. And he had already played the game for a while, so he's definitely judging me. And when we played split screen, he wouldn't let me drive. He would be like, nah, dude, you suck. You're like my mule or my distraction. Right, so he would let me like drive in there, assuming we had two vehicles, and just be the distraction while he's the hero back there. But big frowny face, man. Like every time I saw the vehicles, and back to this reviewer's point, the vehicles were just so weak. Like the Banshee or the Scorpion, you know, it gets shot or have a grenade on it, and then it was like a big paperweight. And then at that point, you know, once it starts to get destroyed, it just, what's the point in trying to use him? Man, that buddy, he would roast me as a kid. Did anyone else have this experience, or did you master driving Halo vehicles and I'm just the odd man out? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so he closes out his review by saying despite his criticisms, Halo 3 was still a great game, and I really have to give him credit for that. This is exactly how a review should be. Well written, thoughtful, balanced, and it shows both positives and negatives. He mentions that the gameplay is safe, which is interesting. I think that's, again, probably because it was Bungie's last, you know, hurrah, and this was ending the trilogy, so they didn't want to risk anything and then disappoint fans by maybe, like, going off the beaten path, which what made Halo 1 and 2 special. Of course, I'm speculating here, but this just makes sense to me while reading this. And then he wraps it up by comparing Halo 2 to 3, saying it never really took a big step forward from Halo 2, which made it feel a bit lackluster to him. At least I'm speculating. He didn't say that or write that, but I'm guessing. Now, do you guys agree? Did Halo 3 play it too safe, or was it the perfect way to wrap up the trilogy? Let me know in the comments. What should Bungie do next? So I'll keep this brief. Bungie is still going strong today, and I think they made the right call by concluding the original Halo series when they did. Sometimes it's better to end on a high note rather than risk ruining something great. They gave Master Chief a proper send-off and moved on to something new. Now, with Destiny thriving as their spiritual successor, it's clear Bungie knows how to create lasting, memorable experiences. But in the end, I think they handled the Halo series just right. Now, they made a couple more Halos after Halo 3. I just unfortunately didn't play them. While making this video and writing the script, I actually thought 3 was the last one with Master Chief. Yeah, that's not at all accurate. So I had to rewrite my script. But with that, do you think they ended the series at the perfect time, or do you wish they kept going? Let me know your thoughts and in the comments below, and thank you for watching.